2, 1. Thank you for coming down, dude.
What's up, man? Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to this, man. I love your guys' music. It is heavy as shit, and I fucking love it.
Dude, sick. Thank you. It's a long time coming. I was excited. As soon as Carlos told me, he was like, dude, is it cool if I let him know? And I was like, yeah, absolutely, for sure. And he was like, all right, cool, man. Well, he should be texting you. And I was like, all right. And then you know how sometimes those things like just kind of get pushed to the wayside. Mm-hmm. Text me immediately, and I was like, oh, sick. This is happening. I'm so pumped. It's so good on you for being, forward with it, for sure.
Oh, yeah, dude. This is seriously a fucking huge blessing, man. I've loved doing this shit, and obviously a product of that is meeting dope ass people like you. Carlos is the fucking man. Like, dude, he's a super nice guy. So for everyone listening and watching right now that's not in the know, who are you? What's your band? Like, what are you guys all about?
Dude, so my name's Estevan, last name Robles, and I'm the lead vocalist of I guess you call it just a good old-fashioned metal band called Centennial. And we've been rocking since 2016, 17, something like that.
Holy shit.
Yeah. We took a break for a couple years, at least like 18, 19. My guitar player kind of went to California to get in some bigger sign bands, and he came back at some point, and here we are, right back to it kind of thing. But man, playing music, I think it's been 15 years playing live music with my guitar player kind of thing, and through various different projects kind of thing, even without him. But as far as me goes, playing music since like 2007, 2008.
And have you always been a vocalist when you've been involved with music?
Dude, no. So vocalist the longest for sure, but at the very beginning I tried drums because I grew up my father playing drums, and him as a drummer really was like, yo, I'm gonna buy you a drum set, yada yada yada. And
oh, so your dad was a drummer,
dude?
well.
Was and is.
That's
for
awesome.
Sure. Yeah, and metal too, like super death metal shit. Like even listening to music back in the day, he would always be like, dude, it needs to be heavier, dude, all the time. And so I started out doing that, and it just wasn't my thing. Like, I loved it and I like enjoyed it, but it just didn't feel right. And I joined the first band, and we the same dude, like my guitar player, like I said, his name's Joe, and he was like, dude, yeah, we need a drummer really, really bad, and I don't want to play drums. And I was like, okay, cool, yeah, like I can do it. And I did it, and man, he was like, I think he just felt bad, but he was like, you're really cool, so we'll figure something out. And eventually he was like, dude, just let me get back on the drums. And I was like, all right, I guess I can try the vocals. And I tried it, and it just connected perfectly.
I'm proud to announce that the podcast is now officially sponsored by the fine people over at Chop Chili Company. Guys, this is some of the best chili you can get here in the state of New Mexico, and they are online as well as in stores. They can be found at Smith's, Albertsons, Sprouts, John Brooks, and Lowe's Corner Market. They have 3 amazing flavors that you see here, and they also have frozen green chili that you can get online. Go on over to the website, chopchilico.com, and get yourself some amazing chili today. So, when you were growing up, what type of music was your dad exposing you to that really got you into?
So,
because I feel like metal, deathcore, death metal, and every other like 50 million subgenres there are.
Sure.
It's like slowly but surely they're getting a lot more accepted. Not necessarily mainstream, but like if someone's playing, like they used to call it screamo.
Yeah.
So if someone is playing that nowadays, they don't get weird looks.
Yeah.
They don't people aren't like scared of it anymore. It's kind of more accepted. Even like some of the more mainstream like rock bands that are starting to incorporate screams and stuff like of varying degrees into their music. Mm-hmm. But it's not always been that way.
Yeah, definitely.
So what were you growing up with as a kid?
Dude, so to back up a second, I met him when I was 14. So when I met him, he was like, I come from a background of metal. Like,
you met your dad at 14?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Met him at 14, and he was like, I love death metal. Like, this is what's up. And I was like already far into like new metal. New metal was kind of just my like avenue that I was starting to go down of like heavy metal, like Korn and stuff like that.
Okay.
And then
like early Slipknot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really, really early, really like their first album, Disturbed.
For sure.
Okay.
For sure, absolutely. And that's partly because my mom was like, we got to listen to some metal, but nothing that I can't understand the lyrics. And I was like, okay. And that was just kind of the thing. And, I didn't even know what, not like anything further was.
Yeah.
And then he was like, yo, Slipknot. I remember calling him like when, shout out to Hastings, dude. I remember going to Hastings, like being young and even Best Buy and in the mall and being like, yo, I'm here at the music store. Like, what should I get?
Right.
And he was like, I don't know, man. Just like kind of look around. And I'd be like naming stuff off. And I remember he was like, yeah, that System of a Down album's pretty cool. Like the Toxicity one.
Nice.
It's all right. And I was like, okay, and what about the Slipknot one? He's like, get that Iowa one for sure.
Oof.
And dude, yeah, and I was stuck. And then he was like, by the way, you have an older brother who's 2 years older than you who loves metal. And he's like, and you're going into high school right now, and you're gonna meet him. And I was like, oh my God, what? This is so sick. Because at this point, I grew up no older siblings. It's just
shit.
me, kind of. I have a younger brother and stuff, but he's like, yeah, you have an older brother, and he's already in high school where you're about to go to. So
So you were literally like about to go to school with your older brother.
yeah, like literally, I was going in from 8th grade to 9th grade, and he was like, he's already there, and this is at Siebel High School, and he's like, dude, you guys should meet now over the summer. And we met, and he was just like, dude, Estevan, like, check out this band, check out this band. Dad showed me this, Dad showed me that.
Holy
and I was
shit.
like, whoa, dude, this is like overload. And I knew instantly too, I was like, I want to start a band. And I tried starting a band with my brother. Like, that's where a lot of the drum stuff started on my end. I was like, I guess I'll do it. And yeah, it went okay kind of thing for a second. And then we were just like, I think he ended up having a kid back in the day in like high school. And he was like, I got to do this kind of thing. And I was like, started finding my friends in high school. And then we just started forming bands and did the trial and error kind of thing for a while until I stepped up to the vocals.
And what year was this? Like, when were you in high school? You started like really trying to start bands, stuff like that, with your brother and then with other people.
Sure. So right now I'm turning 31. So I was in high school from 2006 to 2010. I graduated in 2010.
Okay.
So in that time of 2006, 2007 was the like, let's find a band. Let's talk to these dudes. And I remember being like, I don't even know who to hit up. And I tried, dude. Last night I was like, how did I find like these two dudes? It had to have been MySpace somehow, some way, because that's
Holy
the only thing I can
shit.
think about. Like, and we were like, so I'm 16 at this point, and these guys are 14, 13, and I remember being like, they're not even high school, but they're playing, and they're really good together. And I went and tried out, and they were like, yeah, let's keep jamming. And I was like, okay, cool. And dude, it was great. They were a good team and stuff like that. That guitar player and that drummer for sure.
And so back then, I mean, age gaps can be crazy, even for like 6 months, a year apart.
Absolutely.
What was that like, having to not only hang out, but just like get in a literal rhythm and synchronization with people so much younger than you? Was that a challenge? Because again, you're 16 at that point. You don't, you're so young. You don't know a whole lot. Like,
and I think that's what helped, because like I didn't really know myself, and I'm just like trying to make sure I fit in. And I think they were probably even like that, in that same boat for sure. Yeah. But man, they were like, when we actually all played together, that's when you can tell like the synchronicity is there. It's either there or it's not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And in that case, it was just there, and I was like, okay, cool.
And you're still in contact with these two?
So so this guy was the drummer at that time, and now he's my guitar player.
Oh shit!
And that's that's Joseph. That's the Riff Palace Studios. Currently now in Centennial.
Shit.
Yeah. So him and I just go back, man, like far.
That's
sure.
kick-ass.
Yeah. The guitar player at the time, we just didn't really keep in contact. Some things kind of came up, and he ended up doing his own thing after a while, and just everybody kind of just went their own ways at some point. And growing up and playing music for this long, people just end up doing their own things, and life catches up to you, kind of thing,
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not, unless it's a one in a million thing, and quite frankly, your parents know some people, or your family knows some people, and you have connections.
Yeah.
It's the getting into entertainment, certainly music. Like, it's not the most financially lucrative thing,
Dude, never.
to do. And if you want to keep on doing it, it's something you have to actually carve out time, carve out your life. And, when you're at that age, you don't really have that much of a concept of time.
No, definitely not, man.
It's, your life pretty much ends at at 3:30, 4 in the afternoon. Like your responsibilities and anything even resembling an adult life ends right there. And then you just move on to what the fuck you want, depending on how like your family and your parent situation is.
Absolutely.
But that's good that you learned that skill very early, it sounds like.
Dude, yeah, absolutely. I mean, kind of we just had to, and at that point we're thinking like all we have to worry about is getting ready for the show. That's how our mind frame was, like all the time. We knew the whole entire time. I don't think we ever sincerely got paid unless we actually booked a show.
Right.
And I don't know, are you from here?
Yeah, born and raised. Yep.
Okay, so do you remember the OG Compound days?
I know the name, but
Okay.
I never, honestly, dude, I never really went out
Okay.
and did things until like
Nice.
last year.
Nice. Okay, cool. So in high school, the Compound was the DIY venue to play. They were bringing in touring bands and doing the thing, but it was a lot of like people booking local shows or just local bands kind of trying to make some sort of name for themselves for sure. And we did it, man. We played one show in May of 2008, and that was our first go around, and we brought a lot of people because it was our first show kind of thing. It was a big deal, like friends and family.
And how old are you at this point?
This is 2008, so probably 16,
Okay.
16, something like that. And so we brought a lot of people, and I talked to the owner of the venue, and I was like, "Hey, I want to book a show." And he was like, "All right, man, like I'm gonna let you know, like he gave me like the official, like formal kind of, this is the paper for all the like paperwork, this is like deposit you have to pay." And I was like, okay, cool, just because I'm so young.
Yeah.
And I think he was probably like, what's this kid? This is gonna flop. This is not gonna do well. And we booked some friends that we knew, and they were like, we can ask about this band, and we did it. And dude, I think we brought even more people the second time, and they were like, oh my God. I think, and honestly, I think he even was like, I'm gonna want to book this band a lot more. And we were
What was you guys' name back then?
Okay, so first band while we're doing this is called One Less Tragedy.
Okay.
And we're doing it, and he starts throwing us on openings for a bunch of bands. And we are the youngest band by far. Like we are straight up, barely even in high school at this point.
Yeah.
And there's kids or other bands that we were, I guess, growing up with, but they were already 19, 20, 21 kind of thing. I remember some dudes were like 30, like our age. And so now it's crazy to think about full circle. Like now we're the older dudes watching high school bands. It's so crazy, dude, seeing it all kind of go full circle now. But yeah, we just kept getting thrown onto stuff, playing different venues, playing all around the city. Did a couple out of city shows and stuff like that, and it was,
As a kid.
dude, as a kid.
Wow.
Yeah. We did I think it was either late 2008 or early 2009, because we had a good run for like 2 years for sure of just at least once a month, just constant. And one of them was down in Roswell. We played with that band Attack, dude, and it was their first album, that Someday Came Suddenly or whatever it was. And
You played with the actual okay, so Attack came to Roswell?
Yeah.
What the fuck were they doing in Roswell?
Dude, no idea. I don't even know how we specifically got booked if you asked me, but I know that we ended up on that, and we were like, yeah, let's go. And we like had like uncles taking us, like straight up everyone packing their parents' van kind of thing.
Holy shit.
And I think we played right before them because we were like from out of town. We were from Albuquerque, and we had some sort of noise coming in from Albuquerque, like, oh, this band is on all the like Albuquerque shows, so let's put them right before Attack. And we played, and dude, I remember we played, and it was the first time and probably only time at this point where we've been asked for like an encore, and we were like 16. I don't even think we like knew what an encore was. I think we played like some covers. It was so nuts, man. It was such a blast though. We killed it, had fun, and drove back. Man, it was nuts.
Were you actually God, you were so, because what you were had to be 17 at that point, 16, 17 at that point. Did you get to like hang out with, because that's like the original lineup of Attack before they broke up for a long time.
Yep.
Original singer fucks off to Of Mice and Men. I think the lineup now, the only original member is like the bass player.
Probably, yeah.
I think.
And that's so crazy too, thinking about how all these bands just like, oh, dude, I remember playing with them back when, and people are like, really? And I'm like, yeah, dude, for sure. We played a second Roswell show maybe a month or two after that with Born of Osiris when they first were doing their first album.
What a name drop.
Dude, the New Rain or whatever it was, they're blowing up, right? And they play Roswell. And I remember we had like a tech friend band. They were called Back to Green River. And we were like, you guys want to come up with us? And they were like, oh my God, we love Born of Osiris. This is such a good opportunity. And I was like, cool, let's rock. And we did. And we played again and killed it. It was so crazy, dude.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
So what was it like? So you're young. Yeah, were you listening to Attack Attack at that time?
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah. So what was that? That's your first time really meeting like.
So we're playing like that kind of like breakdown stuff. We're like, no, I wouldn't say I'm not singing or anything like that. I'm just screaming all wholeheartedly. Never in my life live have I ever like sang. I've always kept it like singing predominantly highs or predominantly like now I'm doing my mids and my lows.
Right.
But at that time we're playing super breakdown stuff. Like now that like I think about it, a lot of the people are like, oh, this band just brings a lot of kids and we're all loving this, and they just play kind of all just breakdowns. But that was the hype.
Well, that was everything back then. As long as you could have a shitty first verse and maybe a decent-ish or bad chorus, but as long as your breakdown was heavy and disgusting and it kept the tempo of the song or brought the song back, that was it.
Dude, absolutely. My so like on the simplicity side of it, all of it was what it was, but we were absolutely on time. Like my drummer at the time, which is my guitar player Joe again, he is a machine. Like we all say it still to this day. Like he is absolutely on time. Like he is a walking metronome at all times, and it's so sick. So we've brought that into like Centennial now. Obviously, he's not the one keeping time with us, but we all play to like click tracks in our. Well, the drummer just plays to click tracks,
right?
And it keeps us all on time, and that's
sick,
amazing. But that was all his doing. He was like, if we're gonna play music, I want this drummer like to kill it at this point, and I want him to stay on time and stuff like that. And he, dude, stays on it.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
So, how long after that? So that Attack Attack show was your first Roswell show. Mm-hmm. How long after that was your second Roswell show?
Shoot, probably a couple months. Maybe nothing too crazy.
How close to that original formation going separate ways did that happen?
So at some point, we're playing all 2008, going hard. Like going balls to the wall from May all the way through 2009. At some point, is when we all kind of split off and did our own thing at that point. And I think 2009 we started playing more hardcore shows. Like the hardcore crowd saw us coming up and bringing people, and everyone was like, "Dude, anyone that's gonna bring anyone, I'm down. Like we need people to come." Yeah. And we were playing those shows, and one time we ended up not being able to make it to one of the shows. We just had to cancel, like literally like the hour or two before. And that's when stuff started getting weird with us. Honestly, they were like, we don't care about this One Less Tragedy band anymore. Like they're kind of just whack. They don't even like come out. They don't even like show up to the shows that they're going to play. Dude, yeah, it was crazy. And it was just the promoter at the time, like, rest in peace, that dude like took his own life like 5 or 6 years ago and stuff like that. That was super unfortunate, but that was just the hardcore mentality, was like, you show up, you do your thing. Yeah. But that started rising for sure. And at some point, once we all split up, like I started taking more of a route to going to more of those hardcore shows and stuff like that. And that kind of paved the way to where I ended up meeting Carlos and and through that, because I didn't meet him until 2010, 2011 is when I first tried out for Carlos's band and stuff like that. But yeah, from all the way up until then was all One Less Tragedy. And I tried playing in some other bands and stuff like that through after, but that was just me finally turning 18. So it was me experimenting with like drugs, and like I think that's when I like got my first taste of alcohol kind of thing. Okay. Dude, yeah. And but so I was just more like a party band. I would say like that's my party band times kind of thing.
Yeah, you're just playing, you can go get fucked up afterwards.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I remember going to play at the Telos campus house on UNM, and it was just like this frat house, but they had shows being booked, like touring bands, and I remember just being like bullets. Like we played, and we stopped, and I was like, dude, I'm it's time to go get messed up, and I did, dude, and that was it, and that was just like the rhythm of it for a while. Lost my like high school sweetheart kind of situation after, like in the midst of right before that. So I was like, dude,
fuck it,
dude, I'm gonna do my thing kind of thing. And and I geared in, but I always had music, always, dude, always. It's a constant for sure in my life.
So to kind of go back a little bit, you were in the first band. Up until the separation, was your dad still playing a role in your musical growth? He's still encouraging you, your brother as well. Like, what was that dynamic like?
Yeah. So family-wise, he was like, I don't care what you're doing. You can play the damn triangle. I don't care what you're doing. Like, as long as you're playing music, that makes me feel good. And he went to the first couple shows, and I remember he was like, dude, this is sick. Like, you guys are actually, like, doing this kind of thing. And I was like, yeah. And same with my brother. I feel like my brother at the time, he was like, I have my kid, but at least like my brother's doing this kind of thing. I can't really speak for him, but it felt like that was
supportive, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like someone's got to do it, kind of thing, you know.
That's sick.
Yeah, dude. And my dad was like, he played shows like 92 to like 97, and I'm born in 92, so I was like, oh, I get why you were not there. Like you're playing music, and that kind of thing happened for a while, and super sick. It was crazy because that OG compound place that I was talking about, they had like a music store where you could go buy albums and stuff, like underground stuff. And my dad took me there for the first time, and he was like, dude, this is my friend's venue. He used to play in other bands when we were both growing up, kind of thing. And he was like, let's go check it out. And I remember picking out some albums there, and he was like, dude, you should come out to the show coming up soon. And I was like, all right, cool. And I went with my brother to first concert there. This is 2006, probably. It was Suicide Silence, like back OG.
Back when they were like violent.
Dude. Yeah. Like had just the EP kind of thing going on. Yeah, dude. It was them.
I mean, I saw them live much after that. I saw them live in 2013, 2014. They came through for... back when Rockstar Mayhem Festival was a thing.
Of course, yes.
They were there for that.
One of the sickest shows.
Yes.
Dude, so good.
Yes.
I remember being like, dude, I'm going to see Slipknot like every single time. And I remember being like, oh, it's like 9 times I've seen them. Dude, it was just, that was the hot band, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember that venue owner was like, dude, come out, like come check it out, come support local music, yada, yada. Yeah. There's some openers and stuff. And instantly, me and my brother were like, dude, it's a weekend, let's go. Oh my God, hooked. I want to play shows and I want to do this. And my dad was like, yeah, you got to do it, man. That's my friend kind of thing. And so we ran with it hard, and I feel like I'm still running with it.
That's awesome. Well, I mean, like metal shows are fucking, whether it's something big like down at Isleta or something local, like we're talking about, like there is something different about, and it's so unique because by all common sense, you should be running away from what's going on the stage. It's so violent and loud and in your face. And if they've got the theatrics and the blood and the pyro, like you should not want to be around that. But for some reason, I think that's why Down with the Sickness got as big as it still is. It's just something fucking tribal that just gets activated in the back of your brain.
Dude, absolutely. I think we're like us as humans are like kind of just attuned to rhythm, and when it's in sync with everyone in the crowd, which is what music does, it like I feel like the camaraderie happens because everyone is vibing to one frequency, and eventually you're like, this is it, dude. And especially if it's heavy and loud and distorted, people just
and it's so strange because you would think again that that's like an unsafe place, a very violent place to be, but in my experience, it is one of the safest places to be.
Absolutely.
One of the most safe and secure places you could fucking be.
Absolutely.
Even with the drunk idiots and people can get turned into drunk assholes, and that happens everywhere, doesn't matter where you go.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it is one of the safest places you can fucking be, and it's an absolute conundrum, but I love it.
With that, like I was saying, how we got into the hardcore realm of things, like, I think when I saw hardcore shows, good old fashioned, I watched this band called Bury Your Dead, and they're just a good old school hardcore band from the 2000s, and they were kids getting hit, and I watched them get hit in the face and pick each other back up, and like get hit and start fights with people who were moshing traditionally, push moshing, and they would back up their friends, like, hey, dude, like, this is what we do. Y'all can do stuff over there, yada yada. And I remember that conversation. It happens every show. I feel like since then, kind of thing. Yeah. But I remember being like, I feel safe, like I feel secure, like I am exactly where I need to be. Like I never felt like, oh no, like by all means, like
I'm in danger.
I've had my fair share on the pit kind of thing. Definitely more so when I was younger. That was just I feel like I had to stand on my own and prove myself kind of thing, especially being the vocalist of shows. I feel like I had to like at least jump in there kind of thing, especially if it was like homie bands. That's when I was like, oh dude, I gotta start this for the rest of the crowd. And it was really cool when it happened that way too. You would like start a pit, and then the people would just take over. They're like, oh, that's the vocalist of that last band. Damn, he's doing some crazy stuff. And then I would just do it once, and it just like starts a fire.
You just throw the match into the brush where you just walk away.
Yeah, and I would just go out, and that would be it, and come back and call it good.
You know, one thing I do kind of want to pivot and ask you about is you, at least from what I'm picking up, is you talk about meeting your dad at a relatively young age. Like you're growing up, but you're still at a very young age, meeting your brother. You know, most people, like, they would have that experience and be very like negative, borderline like hateful or angry about like, where the fuck was this guy for the last 14? Like, I know me personally, I knew my dad when I was very young, but some things happened, and I haven't even completely let go of a lot of the emotions that I have. So like, looking back, like, is that something that you were always positive about in the beginning, or is it more like retrospect now, you look back on it and you're able to find the more positive than negative out of it?
So
it's a very jarring thing.
No, yeah, absolutely. It's so wild, dude. I think about it now, I'm just so grateful that it worked out the way it did. But the way that it did work out is when I first knew about my dad, when I'm growing up like 7 or 8, when I can think consciously like, oh, like
I have a father somewhere.
Yeah. Right. I had an like undying like amount of just wanting to meet this person. Like, where is he? Like, let's figure this out, kind of thing. And I grew up with my grandparents predominantly, like from age 1 to like 10, whatever you want to call it. My mom was with my younger brother's dad, and he was kind of abusive and stuff. Okay. So she was very like, I don't want you to be a part of this. Like, your grandparents, my grandparents are amazing people. They were like, yeah, of course you can like live with us.
That's awesome.
And they were very, very, very loving. And that's where like in hindsight, I'm like, oh, that's why I didn't have this hate for him, for sure. But when I first met him, I remember going through puberty and growing up and being a teenager and being like, dude, where the fuck were you? Like, what's up, dude? And he was like, yeah, I was just doing my thing with music. And at some point I was like, all right, like I can be mad at you forever, or I can just accept it. No. And it's because of my loving grandparents. They were like, I feel like at some point their whole lesson about forgiveness was like, it had to have clicked at some point in my life, because I think that's the only thing I can owe it to. I don't know. That's awesome. You had good upbringing on that end, for sure.
What kind of lesson, what kind of lesson about forgiveness did they teach you at that age? That's an important thing to learn when you're going through puberty, and not a lot of people learn that.
Absolutely.
You got to figure out forgiveness on your own.
I think, so my grandfather never knew his dad. And I think at some point I'm sure we had some sort of conversation about it. And he was like, you need to just forgive. Like, you don't have to forget it, and you can figure it out when they do come around, but you can't hold on to that hate. Like, you're only going to hurt yourself at some point.
Yeah.
And and my grandmother was just like, I love you. Like, we're going to have a good life, kind of thing. And
that's awesome.
She dude, shouts for sure. I like owe all of my open-heartedness for sure to both of them. But at some point, I have had many heart to hearts with my father, like especially as of late, 5 years kind of thing. I remember even before I got, I'm currently like 2 years and 8 months sober, and from alcohol, and I right before I got sober, so this is like COVID times. Man, I had heart to hearts with him, like drunk, like being like, Dad, like it's all good, like I still love you, man. And he was like, man, you're kind of drunk, like it's all good. But we attempted at that point, kind of thing, to do those kind of conversations.
Yeah.
And now that I've been sober, it's way easier to have those conversations. It's so nuts, like kind of like a duh kind of thing. But we do, man. It's great. We can literally talk about anything and everything. It's awesome.
Well, a lot of people need that, like the liquid courage. They need that, that like it's voluntary as you're doing it to yourself, but that very involuntary, freeing loss of inhibition. Like, like, well, because, when you're sober, for a lot of people, you can say something and you're worried about, what are they going to think? What are the repercussions? How are they going to see me? How am I going to feel about what I just said? But if you're in that sweet spot, you can say just about fucking anything and you don't give a shit. In that moment, you don't care. So a lot of people, like, that's not the fact that those conversations are better had sober and clear-headed. That's very lost on a lot of people. I mean, it certainly was on me for a very long time. And also I feel like sometimes with a lot of people, those conversations don't even get started sober. You know what I mean? Like, it's like they're not willing to open up and like do that sort of thing. And I want to get to sobriety and all that kind of stuff later.
Sure.
But so you're growing up and you're in your first band for a couple of years. Your dad's still there, and he's supporting you through all of that. Did you go to him for any kind of guidance or advice on that first band kind of split? Or what did that look like for you?
Hey, man, there's plenty of other bands. You're in Albuquerque kind of thing. And I was like, you're right. And thankfully, we've played all those shows to where I met people. And they were like, man, I'm starting a band. Yeah, I'm starting a band. And blah, blah, blah. And thank God we played as much as we did, because that just helped. I was able to, I think it was only a couple months. And I was like, let's practice. Let's get together. Write a set, 20 minutes. Play some shows. I mean, I wasn't like, we need to get signed and change our lives, because I'm still like 18 maybe at that point.
Right.
And I'm like, let's just play music and keep doing it.
Did you know that you're at that young age? Did you know that you're like consciously networking and meeting new people like with a purpose, or was it kind of just like happenstance?
No, just enjoying it. And I think that's how it worked out. Like, I remember hearing people that were taking it serious, like other friends' bands that were taking it very serious. And I remember just being like, I'm just going to go have a beer. And like, we're going to just jam.
You never felt that pressure?
No.
To take it super serious, like business minded and all that kind of stuff.
I just made sure that we sounded good and we were going to play some cool shows. That was like,
awesome.
That was the premise. I didn't work really at all either. So I wasn't like, I was by all means like not rich, not loaded with money whatsoever. But I had wheels and I was able to at least get us to and from. Yeah. And that was enough, man. Yeah. That was enough. And it was so many memories, dude.
Well, I mean, I would imagine at that age being, you're not uptight. You're not super concerned about you're concerned enough to go play and practice and all that stuff. But you're not like so uptight and uppity about everything. No wonder people want to play with you or have you in their band. Dude, it's like, it's another guy that we can work with.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I've been in that first band we had, of course. So those two other dudes that I said were it was us foundationally. We were trying to get the second guitar player, and we had the bassist. The bassist stayed for a long time with us. I'm still really good friends with him. And we constantly tried out a second guitar player. Like, it was like, this guy didn't work out. And it kind of went back and forth for a while. But yeah, trying out people that were like, just didn't really click sometimes. You know what I mean? All great people in their own ways, but it just didn't really vibe. Yeah. They weren't like that serious enough to where I'm like, okay, cool, we're still on time and still killing it, yada, yada, yada kind of thing. But we tried to give everyone a chance. I definitely want to always do that with people at all times. Even in this band currently, I still try hard to make sure that we are giving everyone their opportunity to show forward, which is so important, man. It's I think
So explain that for people that are listening and don't really know what that means truly.
the idea of like
Showing forward.
showing forward.
Yeah.
So being able to make sure that they are on time as a musician, making sure they are literally playing the music as it is supposed to be, or even the desire to want to play the music on time. Like I think that's more important than actually doing it. Like that drive is what I always look for in anybody. I think in anything in life, like that's when you can show commitment. It's like so crucial, man, for any sort of progress.
And so I asked this, I think I've asked this of like every, I think, entertainer that I've had on, to be honest.
yeah.
I'm very interested in this because everyone more or less has a different answer, especially now that you've been doing it for so long.
Mm-hmm.
What do you keep in mind when you're building and then now maintaining a team that you work in, a group of people around you? Like what are you keeping in mind as like, okay, those are clear indicators I want to have this person around, or okay, that's a big red flag.
Yeah.
Let's stay away from that, or maybe let's try and rehabilitate or fix that. I'm listening, but I'm just gonna check the cameras really quick.
Do it. I would say communication, man. That's the kicker. I think with like almost everything that you do in life, in any sort of relationship that you are having with friends and family or significant other, communication is just always the main determining factor. And if someone's not communicating, that's when things get messed up. That's when things don't work out. I mean, I've seen the whole ego thing kind of destroy people, but at the same time, like, regardless, no matter who it is, everyone has some sort of ego at some point. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, I feel like you have to have a level of an ego to be an entertainer. You have to.
Yeah, of course. That's just who you are up there on stage, no matter what.
Especially to be a vocalist, because holy shit.
For sure. And like, I've had a lot of like come to Jesus moments where I'm like, I don't want this ego kind of thing anymore. But every single time I'm on stage, I'm like, oh, I'm this person. I'm doing my thing. And I would say communicating is definitely the most important thing. It's communicating and just being like some sort of person who's going to be like a determining factor is just that drive, man. And like, are you willing to do this? And are you willing to do this for, like, are you willing to show up every week? And but it all comes down to communicating. If you were like, hey, I can't really go every week. I have 5 kids. Like, I got to do what I got to do. And I would still respect that person just as much because they're communicating.
Well, it's the honesty aspect. And yeah, there's nothing worse than like saying, yeah, like I can do this every single time. And then it's like, well, what happened in the last 3 weeks, dude?
Yeah.
You know, and I hear that story a lot from musicians. I hear that story a lot from a couple of comics that I've had on. And that's actively hindering, like, not only what you're doing, but then, you know, I feel like for some people that kind of builds a level of distrust for other people, and that seems like, well, who can I trust to actually do this properly?
Sure.
How many people I have to go through? And you kind of just, people get worn down that way.
Absolutely. So in this current band that I'm in, with these other 4 guys, all of them are in other projects. Centennial is not their only project. They're all going hard with other bands, kind of thing.
That's not surprising.
Right.
Just because I'm learning that too, about like the music here and the culture of music. Like it's very rare that I think I only know 1 or 2 bands that are, it's like, these are our core people and we don't swap out and we don't, but it's like, no, everyone goes everywhere and plays with everyone. It's very like a communal thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think, it kind of happened that way naturally because we kind of created the band to just do music that we enjoyed. We never were like, this is it, like, let's go get signed and tour the world and change lives kind of thing. We were just like, let's just play some cool music and we'll just write some heavy music like how we used to when we were kids.
Yeah.
But more mature and just more polished. And we kind of just kept it at that. And so I think at some point, you know, people are very, very creative in themselves, especially like us. So we like wanted to go try and see if we could do other styles of music and yada, yada, yada. I'm the only person in this band though that is only in Centennial. Like,
Interesting.
yeah. And it's because I've just been doing this for so long that I know that these are my set of dudes.
Yeah.
And these are the guys that I want to work with.
Interesting.
And I want to just call it good. Like
Fair enough.
I've always said too, I'm like, when you're in a band, you are dating those 4 other guys.
It was like, how much? I was literally about to say, how much drama are you cutting out?
Exactly.
By just saying, you know what, we're just gonna stick with the one.
Yeah. I'm just, dude. Shouts to my my bassist and my guitar player, because them two are in another band, and they are going at it pedal to the metal kind of thing. And my bassist is in another band, where we all kind of like play the same shows more or less. We definitely stick to more of like the metal stuff.
Yeah.
They play hardcore music, so it's a little bit like more in the subgenre kind of thing. But regardless, it's all the same people that come out to the same shows. Like,
Yeah.
But he's jamming 3 times a week, dude.
That's sick.
Yeah, dude. It's just all they know kind of thing, and which is cool.
So, what age did you find out that you're able to sing, and then when did that evolve into the type of vocals you do?
Dude, I didn't even know I could scream. I just literally grabbed a mic, and they were like, "All right, man." And I was like, "I just want to play music. I'll play the triangle." And I was like, "I'll try this. Like, let's see if I can do it." And I just ripped it. And I was like, probably doing it terribly, honestly, at first, and just not. And I say terribly in a way of like not the correct way to do it.
Yeah.
Where you can like really
Protect your
damage
vocal
yourself.
cord. Yeah.
Because
Because even the pros do it bad like that. Like
They
that's
can,
why, at least to my knowledge, that's why Avenged Sevenfold had to get away from screaming after their first 2 albums. Is the lead singer, M Shadows, he got evaluated by a doctor. And the doctor was like, okay, either you stop screaming or you have permanent damage to your vocal cords. Choose.
Yeah.
And they went the path that they went.
And unfortunately, like, it's not reversible at some point when you have done so much damage. And that's why they were like, yo, you just can't do it anymore, unfortunately.
Have you ever had any sort of like actual vocal training or vocal anything to do with you? Because like, excuse me, because like today, God, I fucking hate how gassy these things make you, dude. Jeez. Because like all today, just in prep for this, I've been listening to your EP.
Yeah, hell yeah.
And good God,
Dude,
holy fuck.
Yeah,
Like,
hell yeah.
Is that just a natural progression of you doing it over and over and over and finding comfort for your vocal cords, finding a sweet spot, or did you ever do like any actual like formal training?
No, so as far as everything, it's all self-taught, but thank God we grew up with the internet. And the internet, I was able to finally find someone who knew about this download that consisted of this, I guess you could say she's an artist. She made an album called The Zen of Screaming, and it's literally like vocal technique of like, these are warm-ups for you. This is what we do. They do it for metal screaming, and it's just ways to make sure that you are doing it correctly. And because I remember going to playing shows and being like, afterwards being like, hey, dude, like, thank you so much for coming out.
Well, I know fucking vocalists and just alternative or just rock bands that are kind of like that after a show.
It's just, it comes down to breathing, honestly. But those warm-ups were godsend, dude. I remember one of my really good friends, this is all like, once I got more into like the hardcore stuff, like 2011, 2012, I met this dude in this band called the Scarlet Ruse, and he was a vocalist in that band, and he was like, dude, you should check out these warm-ups. Like, they're amazing. And I was like, what? And he was like, dude, yeah, like, I'll burn it for you. That's how, you know? And I was like, sick. Or I'll put it on your MP3 player. And I was like, dude, sick. God. And we did it that way, and dude, godsend though. Like, I remember he was like, dude, just do it every day before you jam, and you won't crack. You won't, like, it'll just come out effortless. And I didn't even know really what I was doing. I just knew, like, how to do the warm-ups, and that's all I knew. That I was like, oh, this is what I'm being told. This guy's like 5 years older than me. All right, cool. I'll do these. And I live and die by those still.
So I was saying, those are still the warm-ups you're doing today.
Fundamental.
No shit.
Yeah, dude, definitely. Every time we jam, like right before, it's a 15-minute, like, you just follow along to like 15 different warm-ups. Like, they're like little melodies, and you're like, these are Z's, and you follow on this note, and you're like zzz, and it, like, you just like follow a little template, and the next one is like, these are E's, and you just follow, and you just vibrate your vocal cords, really is what it is, without like pushing them. That way, so when you do it, it's like comes out effortless.
Interesting.
Because my first vocal for the last like 4 years, because we've been playing the same sort of set, it's one long scream. And I remember being like, when I first hit it, I was like, dude, this is scary. Like, this is a long note to hold my first one. And I remember I was like, I need to start doing warm-ups again. And I did them, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. Piece of cake. And yeah, I live and die by it.
So how are you manipulating your vocal cords, your mouth, and the breathing motion and the air that you're actually pushing out? How are you, like, what are you doing when you're screaming like that?
You're pushing with your whole body, but it's coming from your diaphragm, which sits right, like, it's like right below your rib cage, but above your stomach. And that's where the air flow comes from. You like take your deep breath and you push from there. Like the same feeling that you get when you're doing a sit-up. Like, you know, like you crunch and you like get tight. That same muscle that you tighten up is the muscle that you push from. And with that, you just know to not like push too hard, because that's when you can strain. It's all, whenever you hear anything cracking, it's just pushing too hard and straining. If you can control your breathing and really take it like kind of slow, you have a lot of air with each breath. And man, lately, what was it? Since COVID, honestly, I've been doing a lot of yoga, and yoga has definitely taught me like wholeheartedly way more about breathing. Like it's so important, man. It's not even like taking like like I'm about to scream all this stuff out. Like it's like, okay, I have all this air in me, so it's gonna keep coming out, and it's gonna keep flowing and keep moving through its.
I hear like the little like foundation of a growl in your voice,
dude. Yeah, it's just naturally rumbles for sure. It's funny. There's so many people that have really like, man, like so they'll watch the set and they're like, I didn't think that voice could come out of you, man. And I'm like, really? And they're like, dude, it's so crazy. Like,
I've been thinking that for the last 40 minutes.
Dude, yeah. It's the same.
Because you're very soft spoken, very like, very soft, very like, just a very soft voice. I wouldn't expect that like murder comes out of this fucking.
Absolutely.
That's hilarious.
The best part. It's the best part because I love like the setup. So, you know, you're like setting up on stage and they're like sound checking, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, all right, cool. Everybody sound checked. All right, vocals. And I'm like, and I'll keep it like chill too during sound check. I'm like, check, 1, 2, 1, 2. And I'm like, hey, play guitar for a second. And he'll play and strum. And I'll be like, check. And then it's just like, check. And you're like, oh, what is happening? They're like, let's turn this guy down. That happens, especially back in the day, dude. It would be like, whoa, let's turn this down. And I just knew how to fucking throw it. It was awesome, crazy. Man. Yeah. Very, very grateful that it worked out the way it did, because honestly, I could have definitely done a lot of damage if I didn't do it right.
Is there any kind of like maintenance that you do, like if you drink, or how you like what are things that you don't allow yourself to drink before a show, or like 24 hours before a show? Is there anything like that? Or
so H2O is the key. A lot of water, man. Staying hydrated with things that you eat, like you got to stay hydrated that way as well. I'll try and like if it's show day, I'll stick to salads. Like anything with water, I'm like very like, yeah, let's do it. I've been drinking like something with a little bit of sugar, but not too much. Just try and stay away from sugar just in general. But the sugar kind of helps coat like your throat a little bit.
Interesting.
So it'll start like a bubble, like kind of like a gargle kind of thing. Like, you know, like when you drink like, I don't know, any sort of heavy soda, you can feel like some bubbles in your throat.
Yeah.
So those help to an extent, but I really try to stay away from too much sugar and then too much caffeine for sure. That can dry you out. Anything that is typically a dehydrating thing is definitely a no-go. I lived and died by alcohol before shows, and I feel like that kind of hindered me and like kind of stopped a lot of stuff. But thankfully for those warm-ups, man, it helped me be comfortable enough to where I could hold it down. But man, right. I remember being like, I love the way this beer is like helping me feel loose, and I definitely still feel it too. I'm like, dang, I was much looser like on stage, being like a little buzzed. But now that I'm sober, I'm like, ooh, but I'm way more powerful. Like it's just like
you're dialed in. You're more literally in tune with what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely,
that's way more important than
dude.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember like being a kid. I still like them now. I was listening to them actually on the drive up, but as a kid in middle school, I was fucking obsessed with Hollywood Undead. And I remember they put out this this live album. I forget what the fuck it was called. And I got it, and it had like a couple like behind like backstage videos and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I think it was like Johnny. He was like chugging a bottle of Jack Honey, and he goes, "It helps the vocal cords." And I remember sitting there as a middle schooler, like, I don't know how accurate that is.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Well, if you think about Jack has a lot of sugar, and I would imagine with the honey, definitely they say honey is like a good rule of thumb for vocalists in general because it helps coat the throat again.
I refuse to believe there's real honey in Jack Honey.
No, I know. Definitely not. But
it's just corn syrup and fucking honey extract.
Dude, I did that one day too. I did corn syrup. I remember buying it from the grocery store and just like a solid like 6 months, I would be like, it's corn syrup.
Jesus.
Just a little swig. It hurt my stomach after a while.
Oh, I am sure.
Yeah, I feel like I'm still dying from that happening to my body. But no, man, I definitely lived and died by like alcohol being like the okay, cool, this is enough sugar. But it at the end of the day, it still just dehydrated me.
Yeah.
And I remember being gassed after like a whole set's worth. When I was in the band with Carlos, we jammed and we would play so typically like practice is play the set, your full live set, chill for a second, and then do it again. And with Carlos and those dudes, that was my first introduction into a death metal band. We would play our set, and then we would chill and hang out, and we would play our set, and then we would start writing, and we would start doing new stuff, and then we would play our set again because we were just chilling. Dude, I'm sure he told you like the Marble that he had worked with was down the street on the west side from where we jammed. So we would just grab growlers, go home, and just jam. We would just keep going. And that was like the routine for maintenance. I remember being like, oh yeah, slam this double white, and then I guess I'll drink this water, slam another double white, and then it was just a lot of that back and forth. So I never really necessarily got dry, but I was dehydrated, and it was like I constantly had to keep putting some sort of liquid to keep it from hurting, kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah, it's wow.
How long are these practice sessions going for?
Oh, dude, with them, hours, dude. It's great. It was awesome, dude. It was awesome. I'm freshly 21 at this time.
Ooh. And
Carlos is like 4 years older than me, I think, something like that, give or take. Sorry, Carlos. I think something like that, and. Dude, they were just seasoned. They were already known everyone at Marble. They were like, this is our vocalist. He's a monster. He's freshly 21. And dude, I'd be like, yeah, I can keep up. And I had to keep up. And that's when my tolerance went up. That's how everything went up. Yeah. But we would just chill and we would kick it for a long time. I was I was in college at this time, going to college. So I was working like barely kind of thing, just like all side money kind of stuff, but jamming was the thing still for me. It was the passion for sure.
What was your drinking, not also like ritual, but like what did drinking look like for you right before a show? And then I'm imagining, like you said a little bit earlier, like after a show you just get absolutely blitzed. But before a show, how like
so the absolutely blitz thing, that was only during like being 18, like after the One Less Tragedy stuff in the first couple of bands after that. By the time I had gotten to meet up with Carlos and them, that was I felt like I was a little bit more mature about my drinking, I guess. I don't know how really that makes sense, but I saw it as being more mature with it. We would drink our growler each on our own, and we would just play the show.
Which, for people who don't know, those things are like 64 fucking ounces.
64 ounces, yeah. So I kept it usually pretty chill Pilsner if it was up to me, especially as I got older. I would keep it kind of chill, but I knew that I couldn't be too drunk on stage. Everybody has like their good limit. And not because like I would like do anything stupid or like throw up or anything like that. It's just I wanted to be able to
be in control.
Say things. Yeah, I wanted to not slur. Like slurring on stage is like, I don't know.
It's embarrassing.
It's
embarrassing. Like I've seen pros do it, and I've seen local acts do it. Everyone has. Absolutely, and you go out long, and especially here, You know, like I know, and there's bands that drink on stage, and that's fine. Like
Yeah.
they'll play a song, sip their beer, keep playing, whatever.
Yeah.
But there's also some bands, and quite frankly, some fucking comics that I've seen
Yeah.
where they're too high or they're too drunk, and they get on stage. And it's like, what the fuck is going on? Like,
Yeah.
why am I here?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I don't ever want someone to feel like I'm wasting my money watching
Ooh,
this
yeah.
watching this band kind of thing, or I wasted my time kind of thing.
Have you ever felt that in the past?
I must have been too drunk to notice, honestly. But no, it was always a thought in my head for sure. Like
Yeah.
going into it, being like, man, I don't know, my family might show up. I don't want to be two blitz kind of thing. Because I remember there was those cases where people that I show up for the first time, dude, I'm so stoked to check your set out, and I'd be like, cool, man, thank you so much. I'm like smashed, and I'm like, all right, cool, I got this. Let's roll. And
Yeah.
I remember being like, I can't even go and have a conversation with them because I'm kind of too drunk right now. But it was always a thought, you know what I mean? I tried to be as respectful as I could, but like,
Right.
let me pull away. Let me maybe not hang out with them
Right.
until, because after a set, I feel like you kind of like get all that energy out and get that alcohol out of your system to an extent.
Yeah. Like you won't be like legally sober, but like the
Sure.
mindset is just so focused on the energy and everything you've just like all the energy you just expended.
Absolutely.
That
Yeah.
it's like, all right, let's focus on breathing
Yeah,
first, and then
absolutely.
we'll start synthesizing fucking alcohol.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Adrenaline's real, right?
Yeah.
Like adrenaline comes in, kicks in, and it does its thing, and then eventually it's like, oh, okay, cool. Now we're able to little like calm down kind of thing. But man, yeah, it was definitely the rhythm for sure for a long time because I jammed with Carlos from. So that band was called Immortal Prophecy, and that was till from 2011 to 2015 or 16, man, of just going pretty hard with that, but mainly playing a lot of death metal shows, but we ended up playing more hardcore shows than anything. I had really good friends who were DIY venues that were opening up after that whole compound thing came up. There was a venue called the Gasworks that was a huge home space for us kind of thing, and we played a lot because we just were good friends with everyone. We were chill dudes, man. We were never like we're better than anybody ever. We were the only metal band playing hardcore shows, so we kind of just fell into that rhythm for a long time.
At what point did you decide, like, or at least not, maybe not decide, but you started having the thought, like, all right, maybe it's time to put away drinking for now? Like, when did that start to be a thought?
2020.
Yeah.
2020, man. Long story short, COVID hits, and I, at the time, driving Uber full time, and I'm like, I'm not going to drive. This is crazy. You know what I mean? I don't know what's going on. And I just stayed home and kept drinking. And then I hung out with friends and just kept drinking. Like, I drank enough to where it ruined my very, very long-term relationship that I was in. And after that, I drank even more.
Yeah.
Like, it literally graduated from beer to absolutely predominantly, like, liquor.
Yeah.
For sure. And at some point, you just have to have a moment with yourself, man. I remember being at the top of a mountain after a hike and being like, yo, dude, you just gotta like stop. This is 10 miles that you just did. And I don't know what it was. I think I expelled all my energy out, and it was just on the hike. I really wasn't even drunk or anything crazy like that, but I was like, I should probably stop. I should probably figure this out here soon because this is only making things harder and more difficult. And and literally on the way home, I was like, yeah, I'm just not gonna drink anymore.
Were you scared of that thought? Or were you happy about it?
I was scared that I wasn't gonna commit to it, kind of thing. Like I was like, oh, cool, I could chill. It was what was scary is going around my friends that continued. That's the scarier part for sure. It's getting sober was never like the hard part necessarily. Thankfully, very, very grateful that it was never like a physiological dependence to where I was like, oh no, like I stopped. Like throwing up or like, you know, my body's going into shock or anything.
That's
like
a
that.
real thing, you know, for people like, God, going cold turkey on alcohol, going cold turkey stuff like heroin, that can kill you.
Absolutely, man. I was addicted in a way that was like, I like to drink every day, and I found excuses to do so every day. Now, was I like blitz out my mind every day about it? No, definitely not. I think I had a really, really good supportive partner who was like, yo, I don't really drink a lot, so it's weird that you're drinking this much. So I always kept it at bay kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I always had a reason to be like, hey, like, let's go down to this brewery because they just released some random beer that I didn't even know. But we would just find excuses. And I would be like, I was very persuasive and I was like, let's just do it. Like, so-and-so is going to meet us there. And it was that way for, shoot, man, from 2016 to 2020 of just solidly doing that.
Yeah.
And being introduced to like the marble thing, being like, oh, that's my watering hole.
Yeah.
All these other breweries are also becoming my watering hole. You have friends that are growing up that are like, my friends work at these breweries over here and over there. Yada, 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 becomes this like brewing community. Like it was super, super, super inclusive, which was cool because I was a part of all of it, but it always centered around alcohol. And it was tough, man. It was tough to just be like, yeah, you know what? Today I'm just not going to drink. Like I was always like, there's a beer in the fridge. Like, hell yeah, I'm home. I'm safe. I could drink another beer.
Yeah. That's
every
a real
day.
thought.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And yeah, it didn't happen though until good old COVID, man, gave me the opportunity to, I guess, kind of like reflect a little bit more. And yeah, it kind of stared me at the face and stuff like that. But
and you know, this is no type of shade or anything negative towards breweries. I very much like breweries, like going there.
absolutely, yeah.
I still want Marvel to sponsor me.
Shouts, yeah, dude, they
Please.
should. They should.
But, you know, in my opinion, breweries are popping up left and right and center. They're fucking everywhere. And it's great because, you know, I love fucking local business happening, but I think they play this really weird role in, like, I don't want to say like the drinking community because everybody drinks, like 99% of people fucking drink, but like
Absolutely.
they play this weird role where it's like you're not going to a bar. You're going to a brewery.
Yeah.
Hey, let's go to the brewery. Let's get a flight. Let's get their brand new beer. We all love going to this and this. Oh, and they've got food. You can bring the kids in. Come on, it's not that bad. Let's just go to a brewery. It's not like, let's go hit the bar. That's a different sentence. Let's go hit the bar. Or let's go to the club. Those are two like so different. And like breweries found the way to sneak and be like, no, it's just like, it's like family friendly drinking. You know what I mean? This is the afternoon special of drinking or after school special of drinking.
Absolutely.
And it works. And, you know, for the most part, they're a very friendly environment, about as friendly as alcohol you can get. You
Absolutely.
know?
Yeah, of course.
But they're like these little, like you just said, like these little watering holes that are like family friendly drinking. And, you know, there are a lot of people that I know personally were like, you know, they're not beer snobs, but they love beer and they love checking out the new types of beer that's coming out and the new flavors and the this and the that. And that's great. But then like, I kind of see like the one out of the group where it's like, I think you like it a little too much.
Yeah,
I think it's becoming detrimental.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, you know, it's interesting that you bring up the pandemic because that happened to, like, you're not in the minority.
Sure.
So many people, when they got, you know, everyone's locked up in their house, you have nothing else to do. If you're lucky, like extremely lucky, your job kept paying you. If not, you got an unemployment, so you have money coming in. And of course, grocery stores have to stay open because everyone needs food. But liquor stores stayed open too. And the number one selling products in America during the pandemic were not even electronics. They were, I don't know what order it was in, but it was TVs, booze, and Nintendo Switches. Those were the top 3 selling products to my knowledge during the pandemic. And a lot of people, you know, it's like, well, you're locked up in your house. Maybe you're with your significant other, you're with your wife, maybe the relationship was good before, maybe it was bad, but everyone starts drinking too much. And it's super sad because it's just a very common thing. And what kind of kills me is like, no one's really talking about that anymore.
No.
It's like it all kind of came and went. And I'm like, no, all y'all should remember this. Like, not to get political, but all y'all should remember this when the next election comes up. Like, fuck the presidency, but like your congressmen, your fucking representatives, your mayors, your district, whatever. Remember what they did. Remember what they caused, what they helped happen.
Yeah.
Because that's such, like, I remember I had a buddy of mine. Well, we're still friends, but he is a state policeman in Clovis.
Okay.
And when he was still like a street, because now he's like a detective now or some
Sure.
fancy shit with a suit and a tie and
Sure.
and a badge and all that.
Yeah.
But when he was like a street cop, like the equivalent of their version of a street cop, God, I think he said before the pandemic they were having like, I don't know, like one suicide a week, one every 10 days, maybe even more. Like it wasn't like a frequent thing. There was a period of time where they were having 3 a day. And that's in Clovis. Like,
Nutty, dude.
there is not a lot of people up there. And you know what I mean? Like, that town's just known for drug usage. Like,
So wild.
and that wasn't an isolated incident either.
Yeah.
What kept you, like, when you decided to go sober, what kept you on that path of like, yeah, well, I'm doing this. Like, I'm not gonna break, right? I'm not gonna, relapse or whatever it is. Like, I'm gonna stay on this path of sobriety.
So in a nutshell, I think it just came down to after the first week of seeing that my body felt better, I knew that I wanted to stay on that. And that's the only like light at the end of the tunnel that I was like, all right, cool. I'm going to stick to it. Dude, I had so much pressure from everything and everyone that I was around. I was like, all of my band still drinks, which I see regularly. All of like my friends that I'm still with drink, and COVID's still going on. And I'm like, that's all that's around me. And I literally just had to hold on to, all right, you're starting to feel a little bit better though, man.
Yeah.
Like your brain, you can actually think about this, like that you do feel better rather than just masking everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, like I said, the hardest part was actually like the real work comes as you are sober. Like it's not getting sober is the hard part. It's everything that you do afterwards, because it's the real, like, what are you suppressing with alcohol? And because those things come right back out as soon as you're fully sober. And that's the harder part, to be like, okay, cool, I can deal with this and still stay sober. Because that's where all the come to Jesus moments for me, man, for sure.
Did you feel like beforehand you're like getting in your own head too much, overthinking, anxiety kicks up, stuff like that?
Absolutely, of course. Yeah. It was so tricky, man. I remember being like, should I just have one?
Yeah,
I'll be all right. Like kind of thing. Like that happened a lot in the first couple months, man. But after a while, I was like I saw other people around me being drunk, and I was like, oh, here we go. I don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah.
And I mainly say that due to my job, driving Uber full time. Like that is my job kind of thing. And with the whole rideshare thing, it's like really, really, really interesting, because you do see your fair share of intoxicated people, and it can be very, very steering of like, all right, man, you're doing the good thing. You're not your passenger in the back seat. And a lot of those moments where, you're like, man, I can't wait to get this person out of my car, kind of thing. like, let me.
I was waiting for this. He's gonna be honest about this. Okay,
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Yes.
Like dude, by all means, like, very, very kind to them in the moment.
Yeah.
And
and it's good that they knew to call an Uber. Their friend called them an Uber. Like
Absolutely.
that's positive. But yeah. The honest answer to that is there's a drunk asshole in the back of my car. Let's get him here as fast and safely as possible.
Safe as possible, and just floor it, dude, within all safety measures kind of thing. Dude, let's get him there.
Yeah.
And let's just say I don't drive at night because of those reasons anymore. Like, I'm a daytime driver through and through. Like, sun goes down, I know not to play with fire. It's Albuquerque still. So I play it smart. I'll take everyone to the parties, but not pick them up.
Yeah.
Like, it's not that, oh, I can't handle it, or, oh, I miss being like that. It's just like, no, I don't miss that, and I don't want to see that. And it's just, it's sad to a certain point. And it's like a little worrisome. I remember a lot of rides back when I did do, because I had my fair share of night rides, enough to where I was like, But I remember dropping people off in like apartments, and you're like, hey, is this your apartment? And they'd be like, wow. And you're like, what? You're like, this is it, right? And they're like, well, I'll be all right, man. And I'm like, do you know where you're going? And they're like, where am I again? And I'm like, oh my God, dude. All right, are you sure you're going there? Like,
yeah.
So at some point you just have to like, you're like, all right, cool, dude. Like, you're an adult. Like you got this, I guess. At some point, but that stuff, sometimes you carry it home and you're like, man, I hope that person got home into their apartment all right. You know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff. Definitely worried. Or I hope that couple was all right. I've had couples like get in arguments in the back of my car. Dude, you're like driving and just, with alcohol, things can be unpredictable.
Oh yeah.
And like one thing can set off some stuff real fast.
Oh yeah.
Hey, how's it going? Like, blah, blah, blah. We're just leaving our friend's house. I'm like, cool, hell yeah. Like, let's go across the town. Driving, and then something happens, dude. I don't know what it is.
Who the fuck is that on your phone, you motherfucker?
I knew you were looking at that girl back there, and you're like, oh
Jesus.
no, dude. Oh no. Brother.
I'm on the highway, ma'am. Please don't.
Yeah, dude. You can just let him off right here, and I'm like, oh no.
Okay, well, legally I can't.
We are not playing this. You against me against your significant other. Yeah, dude. It was a lot of that, and I was just like, nope. Very grateful. And it's moments like that. I think I just let the universe kind of do its thing, and it's like it'll send me signs like, you're doing good, man.
Yeah.
You don't need to turn back to that because it's just not going to help you, man.
Well, and a lot of people can hear that and they take it as, oh, you think you're fucking better because you're sober? You think you're this because you're not doing this activity? Like, no, like,
no, hell
no, it's not that I'm better. It's just I see where my poor decisions were leading.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think you're right. I think the universe, whether you want to say the universe, whether you want to say God, whatever you want to believe, it's you're being shown these things for a reason.
Absolutely.
And I think you also get shown those things when you're actively making poor decisions, as these little like warnings, these little like flicks on the nose. Where it's like, hey, this is where it's going to lead you. And I've been there myself, not with alcohol specifically, but I've been there myself where it's like, no matter how many warning signs you get, we're human and we're dumb and we think we can get away with a lot more than we can. Absolutely. And for a lot, you can get told a million fucking times, hey man, don't touch the hot stove. Mm-hmm. Is it hot though? Right. And then you end up fucking searing your hand for a little bit.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, definitely, dude. I am in no way, any way better than any of my people in the backseat. I am just handling life differently.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm just on a different path, and I'll even tell my lady at the time, or I'll tell my lady, like, this person that just got out of my car, like, I'm sending so much love to them. Like, I hope that they get to be able to figure that out at some point. Like, it's just a part of the path, man. And sometimes you just hit it a little bit later, and that's it. That's all it is.
How do you navigate social situations like that where, well, not like the Uber ones, but like social situations in which, your friends or whoever you're with, they're all drinking maybe to a certain excess? Like how, like in the beginning, I'm sure you have it down to a little bit of a science now, but in the beginning, like how did you keep yourself on the path?
0.00 alcohol, that helped. Like those 00 Heinekens, where they like don't have alcohol in it.
Oh, right. Then alcoholic beers, right?
Yeah, non-alcoholic beers. That was, I literally wanted something in my hand because I was so used to just having something in my hand always
for sure
around social stuff.
Yeah.
That was tough, man. And I honestly just had to not go to some of the stuff. Like, just,
was that tough? Telling people no?
Yeah, absolutely, man. But they always say, like, your real friends stick around kind of thing. And I lost a lot of people for sure that don't hit me up anymore and don't really want to hang out. But it was what it is. And, I nothing against them. Still love towards everyone, always. It's just that our paths just aren't on the same parallel anymore, I guess.
But that's just also a product of because what you're deciding is effectively against what? Jesus, are we good?
Yeah.
Jesus. The path you're deciding, that's did one of the dogs get hit?
No, they're good.
Oh, okay. We just got a new puppy in the house.
Nice, dude.
And so every time I hear a crash, I'm like, oh, there goes the puppy.
Tis be, man. That's life.
But when because you're effectively choosing things that are against social norms.
Yeah.
And when you do that, you really do find out who your friends are.
Mm-hmm.
And not necessarily making them bad people for saying, I'm not going to hang out with them anymore because they drink. Mm-hmm. But that is kind of a shitty move. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people would digest as a kind of a shitty move. But again, it's like, yeah, like we were talking about earlier about forgiveness and acceptance and moving on. Like, you know, harboring any sort of negative stuff towards that person, that does effectively nothing for you.
Just yourself.
It's acting against yourself. And how long did it take you to like get comfortable with saying no to stuff like that? Because that can be fucking tough,
dude. Like, it still feels uncomfortable, especially if you're like a persuasive enough person. I've definitely struggled with like people pleasing, and like there's times where I'm like, you know, it'll never be like I'm gonna drink this drink. Yeah. But like there's moments where I'm like, man, I shouldn't even be here. Like I'm just here because this person really wanted me to be here. Like, you know. But it took a while, man, for sure. It was, I would like to say, easier with my closest friends, but also harder because my closest friends are like my family to an extent, you know, and I don't want them to like think of me any less, or like the people pleasing thing. Like I really want everybody to like me as much as I can, kind of thing. But at some point you have to stick up for yourself, and you got to know that you have to have some sort of boundaries. And that's, dude, I struggled a lot with, you know, just because of the childhood. I was always like, I want to be accepted, want to be like liked, kind of thing, and struggled with that a lot for sure. But it's getting easier and easier. I feel like with each day, man. A lot of gratitude, a lot of love to give.
That's awesome.
Yeah, dude. Definitely.
So where do you find yourself now with, I mean, obviously you don't have a relationship with alcohol, you know, physically, but like mentally, emotionally, where do you find yourself now as you navigate? Because again, you're fucking playing shows, you're going out. I mean, you're just in general, where do you find yourself navigating that?
Dude, so I try and stay in each moment for sure. I don't try and be like, oh, tonight we're going to the launch pad and I'm gonna be around alcohol. I'm just like, I'll figure it out when I'm there. And even then, I'm like here, like walking up and down the bar, and I'm like, I don't want to share the temple. I'm like, I just am here to be with the people that I care about, and that's it. That's all I think about. And it doesn't start hitting me until I'm like, oh, I'm the only sober person here, and these people are kind of having conversations with me, and I don't even know if they're knowing what they're saying to me.
Ooh,
like, I'm like. And I'm like, they're like, dude, Estevan, dude, Centennial, man, so sick. Like, I remember when you played like last week. I'm like, didn't play last week, man. That was a different band, but all right, for sure, dude. Thank you so much, man. Hell yeah, check us out. Yeah, dude, it's a little tricky situations like that, but I don't give it too much thought, man. Yeah. Since being sober, like I really try and not attach to a lot of things, man. Any sort of expectation on like life in general. With like, from people or from things, like I'm like, no, I can't expect anything from anyone, anything. I just want to enjoy it all and just stay present, man. Being present is like the key now. That's awesome. And that's all. Because if I give too much power to the past, I'm just not going to be here right now. If I give too much power to the future, that's not here either. So I'm just here right now, doing this podcast.
Can't fix it. Can't change it.
Yeah, dude.
Try not to fuck up right now.
Yeah. Just stay present. Make sure I know what we're saying right now, and that's it, man.
Well, that's man. That's why, like, I really, really do my best to control the amount that I drink when I go out. Sure. Because when I'm home and I'm not going anywhere, I'm not around people that I'm not meeting new people.
Sure.
Or I'm not seeing people that are like my acquaintances or just like passing friends. You know, when I go out, I try to not indulge too much because I am so scared of being that guy.
Sure.
Where I say the thing, like not as something offensive or mean, but I just make an ass out of myself.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, I just look fucking stupid. Mm-hmm. Like I get enough fucking anxiety or second guessing when I'm doing this, let alone when I'm fucking out and about and drunk and God knows what.
Especially like if you're potentially meeting a new person that you want on the podcast. You're like, yeah, I'm going to tell this person for sure they should show up. And then you're like, oh, man, I don't know if they want to now. You know what I mean?
Yep. And thankfully, I haven't had that happen to me yet. Thankfully, all the less than sober networking that I've done has been positive.
Good. Hell yeah.
Thankfully. But, you know, there's a first for everything. Yeah. And I get worried about that. And then, like, you know, I do my best because I love talking to people, like obviously doing this and stuff like that. But I do my best to, like, not embed myself in any sort of like scene, right? Because I see very small ones, albeit very, very small ones, very small opportunities to do that. And I don't necessarily want to, just because if I fuck up one, I'm very scared of fucking up or saying the wrong thing or whatever, then it's like,
Definitely, man.
that's like, boom, the dude
Yeah.
with the podcast is an asshole. It's like, no, I
Yeah.
was just dumb. I'm human.
Yeah. And in this day and age, it's so tough to be like, I'm going to ask for forgiveness. At this
Yeah.
point. Yeah.
And what I love about Albuquerque is it's a double-edged sword for sure. And I do my best to keep myself on the right side of it. And you've been doing music here for so fucking long. I'm sure you can attest to this. Like, word spreads fast.
Yeah, dude, absolutely.
About everything and everyone.
Mm-hmm.
It just it spreads like a fucking wildfire. And I think that good news spreads just as fast as bad news, but the bad news stays around longer.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard story after story after story from musicians that I've talked to both on and off camera about, like it was so easy for us to just, because all these people are fucking talented, obviously. It was like, yeah, we made these relationships with the venues or made relationships with other musicians, and we all play nice, we all do this and that. But we've also seen people who do this, burn bridges, and now nobody talks to them. Nobody works with them because they either fucked up and they really were out of hand and they're not changing, or they made one mistake and they've actually gotten better, but people just only remember the one thing. And it's like, well, oh well.
Yeah. There's I think that just exists in all the communities when it comes to any sort of like talent or just entertainment, I guess, right? And with music locally, it's no different. It's just the rhythm of it. And I didn't really understand it until I got older, but man, it's real stuff, man. People aren't allowed. And in the hardcore community, it's a little scarier because it's like, yo, if you're like not wanted and you show up to a show and it's any sort of hardcore community is around, it's like, I don't want to be that guy kind of thing. It's scary, man. Yeah. And it is what it is though, kind of thing. And that's just the rhythm of that kind of stuff. But yeah, just be a good person, man.
Well, that's what I was gonna say is like, what would you say to like a younger, obviously like a group of people, like a band that's kind of trying to come up, trying to do their thing? Like what? Because I hate asking, what would you tell your younger self? But legit, like, because your younger self is gone. They don't exist. That time does not exist. Like in today's world, where you are where you are now, you've been around for a while. Like, what advice would you impart on some people that are just trying to figure out what the fuck they're doing?
Dude, just keep figuring it out, because if you're going to rely on those set of 5 people, you're gonna be let down, because at some point someone's going to not be able to commit the way you are, assuming this person's very committed kind of thing, and they're really trying to make it. These people, you are going to go through so many different band member changes, and you are going to not ever see some of these people ever again in your life, dude. There's still people I jammed with. I'm like, where is that person, dude? I don't even know what happened to him. But you just got to enjoy those people for that moment and just make the best of it, because at some point, I don't know, man, some people pass away, some people move, some people like you don't even show, or they just hate metal again. Like it can be whatever it may be, man. But
and just people change too.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I had a friend tell me one time, change is the only constant, man. It's the truth. Like I've never heard a more true statement, for sure. It's the only thing that's consistent is that everything changes, always. Yeah. And there's stuff there I'm like, wow, that's not going to be the same tomorrow. But that's why I said it goes back to the non-attaching. I can't really attach myself to like this set of certain rules that I've lived by that are very consistent to me. Tomorrow they could all change, and you'd have to just adjust, dude. Just got to know that it could, you know what I mean? And that's the best part. I think so. Being adaptable, for sure, I think is something you would want to tell a younger kiddo, for sure. Because there is, man, it's crazy to literally see high school kids playing the same shows that we are. And we're like, I've been down your road, man. Different time, but been down your road. And I remember being hungry, wanting to play every show. And just being like, this is so much fun. It's so crazy watching people like get into your music and wanting to punch people just by listening to the things that you're doing. Like, that is so nuts. And it's beautiful on its own, man, for sure. There's something crazy knowing that you are creating a sound that is making people want to move their bodies in a way that is like almost violent. It's cool, man. At the same time, though, like on that note of like the message that you're sending across and what you're trying to do, like lyrically, I've changed my tune for sure, especially as of late. Like that EP that we have that's like most recent, it's called Death Blooms, and it's all about just hating yourself. And that I wrote all that drunk, like a lot, like being like, it was very, very honest. It's not like I like lied about any of it. It's straight up like, I don't like this part of myself, X, Y, and Z. And this song is about stuff I don't like for here, and that I don't like here, and it's all about me. And just being like, and I remember being like, oh yeah, cool. When I go on stage, I'm talking about these things that I don't like. And now that I've addressed it and have been able to like see the other side of it, I'm like, cool. I'm in a place to where I can talk positively about like the struggles that I've been through, which is so grateful to be able to do that. But it's still like, you're like, damn, well, people are still punching each other to this. So it's nuts. But at least like I'm saying some stuff that's a little bit more like on a positive note.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, how do you feel now playing that music? That's such, you know, it's embedded so deeply in a specific part of your life. Like it's the emotions, the things you're talking about, they're not evergreen. Like that part of your life is where it's at, and thankfully it hasn't carried on.
Yeah.
Like, how do you feel about
Dude,
performing that stuff now?
it's so much fun.
Yeah,
Because you're like, oh, this is a part of who I was. And it's beautiful to just like, I feel like you like pay respect to it at some point because it's still part of your journey. So you're able to like visit it and be like, hey, you're good over there? And you're like, yeah, I'm still good, man. Thanks for looking out for me, kind of thing. And I just have that kind of conversation with myself because I've played those songs so long, literally like for the past 5 years straight, to where I remember being in practice and joking with the guys being like, dude, when I played the song, I was thinking about like something else, like completely zoned out. And they're like, you were nailing it. And I'm like, yeah, I was thinking about like what I was going to do on the way home, like what food I was going to get. They're like, dude, me too, man. Like, and dude, it's just so second nature, which is beautiful, like in itself. But I don't like think about it like, oh, damn, like, do I still hate myself? Do I still like not like these things about myself? No, when I do it now, I'm like, oh, cool. Like, I remember feeling that way. It's all good. And you're good now, man. You can reflect and see it all. And it's cool. It's really, really essential. And I think it's just part of your path. You don't want to like suppress anything like that either. One of the songs called Suppression.
yeah.
Anyways, yeah. You don't want to suppress any of it, but for sure, you just want to be able to accept it all and kind of forgive. For sure, man. It's nutty.
That's an awesome way to end this pod, dude.
Dude.
That's good, man. Good for you.
Yeah,
I'm
hell
really
yeah.
happy to hear that. Before we get out of here though, what shows you guys have coming up? I know I saw a flyer for one of them, I think in June, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so what shows you guys have coming up next? Where can people find you guys?
So currently we are in the process of writing the next album. There's 6 songs, new lineup. We just gonna keep rocking with that. We're going to be announcing probably once we start recording it more officially on the dates. So probably sometime this summer for sure. Don't quote me, but life happens and you gotta be adaptable, right?
Yeah.
But you can find us on Instagram. That's probably the easiest way to keep up with us. It's Centennial Band 505, I think something like that. You'll see it. And then live we'll be able to play June 9th, I believe. Yeah, June 9th, June 6th, at Eclipse.
Cool.
We're playing with some good friends of ours, Death Benefits from Las Cruces, and some other locals are going to open for us, and it's going to be a good time. We try to not play all the time, but when we do, we try to make it count. So
That's kick ass, man.
yeah, dude.
Well, this has been a fucking pleasure.
Dude, it's so awesome.
I'm really, really happy we got to sit down and do this.
Yeah,
this has
dude,
been a
definitely.
fucking kick ass time, dude.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm so thankful, and this is great. You keep doing what you're doing. You're doing good things by being able to let people express themselves, and it's stuff that I think the world needs more of, man.
I appreciate that.
We there's enough negativity, and I think being able to give people some space to just be and be able to express themselves is very important.
I appreciate you saying that, man. Thank you very much.
For sure, man.
And thank everyone for listening and watching as usual. And we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Later.